Lieutenant Jack Miller floated his fingers above the communications panel. The strange signal pulsed again, patterns unlike anything in the database. He pushed his chair back and rubbed his tired eyes. 3 days of trying to decode the message had left him exhausted, but someone had to figure out what was coming toward Earth. "Anything yet, Miller?" Captain Lisa Winters appeared behind him, her reflection serious in the darkened monitor. "Almost there, Captain. The pattern repeats every 73 seconds. It's definitely artificial." The USS Frontier had been the first to detect the object entering the solar system. A massive crystalline ship that reflected the distant sun like a diamond in space. Now every eye on Earth was watching, waiting for Jack to decode its message. "General Harris needs answers. The Security Council is meeting in 6 hours. Jack nodded, turning back to his work. "I'll have something by then." When the breakthrough came, it happened suddenly. Jack realized the signal wasn't using traditional mathematical sequences but was based on light wavelength patterns. Once he saw it, the translation came quickly. The message was simple: "Friends coming in peace. Please respond." Within days, the Arcadians arrived at the International Space Station. Tall, graceful beings with pearlescent skin that seemed to shift colors with their emotions. Their spokesperson, who called itself Ambassador Zichtal, spoke perfect English through a small device attached to its throat. Jack watched the first meeting from the communications room back on Earth. The Arcadians explained they represented the Galactic Concord, a peaceful union of species. They offered technology, knowledge, and friendship. Their only request was to establish an embassy and begin cultural exchange. "They seem too perfect," Jack said to his colleague, Ben Harris. Ben shrugged. "Maybe they are perfect. Not everyone's hiding something bad." But Jack couldn't shake his feeling. He noticed how President Clark had entered the meeting looking cautious and left smiling widely, immediately approving everything the Arcadians suggested. The same thing happened with officials from China, Russia, and the European Union. 6 weeks. Later, Jack was assigned to the new Arcadian embassy as a communications liaison. The building had risen overnight, a gleaming structure of the same crystal material as their ship. Inside, Jack met regularly with lower-ranking Arcadians, helping translate cultural nuances that their devices missed. "Your species is unique," one Arcadian named Vela told him. "Most races we meet are more unified in thought." "Humans rarely agree on anything," Jack replied with a laugh. "Ambassador Zichtal will fix that," Vela said quietly, then quickly changed the subject. That night, Jack reviewed recordings of public officials before and after meeting with Zichtal. The changes were subtle but unmistakable. Before, they asked questions and expressed concerns. After, they all used similar phrases. "The Arcadians only want what's best for humanity, and we must trust their guidance." When Military General Patton, who had publicly questioned Arcadian motives, emerged from a private meeting suddenly supporting a plan to allow Arcadians access to defense systems, Jack knew something was wrong. He tried talking to Captain Winters, but she dismissed his concerns. "You're being paranoid, Miller. The Arcadians have been nothing but helpful." "You said the same thing." Jack arrived at Westlake Research Center at dawn. The building looked abandoned, with boards over several windows and an empty parking lot. He checked the address again and cautiously approached the side entrance. A woman with short brown hair opened the door before he could knock. "Lieutenant Miller? I'm Olivia Freeman. Come in quickly." Inside, the lab was surprisingly active. Monitors displayed brain scans and data charts. 3 other people worked at various stations, all looking tired but focused. 6 months ago, I was leading a government study on the Arcadians' neural patterns, Olivia explained. Then I found something disturbing. She pointed to a screen showing 2 brain scans side by side. "This is Senator Adams before meeting Ambassador Zichtal, and this is after. See these activated regions? They match Arcadian neural patterns exactly. It's like they left a piece of themselves inside his mind." Jack studied the images. "Mind control?" "Not exactly. More like influence. Strong suggestion that feels like your own thoughts." 3 days after I reported this, my funding was cut. My lab was closed and my research was classified. That's when you went underground. Olivia nodded. I'm not the only one who noticed. Meet my team. She introduced Sam Kelly, a former military intelligence officer, Dr. Alan Perry, a neurologist, and Maya Garcia, a computer specialist who had worked at the Arcadian embassy. Maya got us access to classified files, Olivia continued. The Arcadians aren't here for friendship. They're scouts for something called the Dominion. Maya tapped at her keyboard, bringing up images of intercepted communications. The Dominion has conquered 87 known species this way. They send the Arcadians first, who use their mental influence to prepare a planet for takeover. But why hasn't anyone stopped them? Jack asked. Because no species has ever resisted their influence, Sam explained. Until now. He pointed to another screen showing a small group of brain scans. These people all met with high-level Arcadians but showed no changes in their neural patterns. They're immune somehow. Jack felt a chill. Captain Winters scheduled me for a meeting with Zichtal tomorrow. The room went quiet. Olivia and Sam exchanged looks. We need to check your brain, Olivia said finally. You might be naturally immune. The scan took 30 minutes. Jack lay still as the machine hummed around his head. When it finished, Olivia's face told him everything. You're not immune, Jack. If you meet with Zichtal, you'll become like the others. Then I won't go. Not that simple, Sam said. If you don't show up, they'll know you suspect something. And now that they've specifically requested you, they won't stop looking. What do we do? Jack asked. Olivia opened a drawer and removed a small device that looked like a hearing aid. We've developed this based on our research. It creates a neural interference field. It might protect you, but it's experimental. We've never tested it against a high-level Arcadian like Zichtal. Might is better than nothing, Jack said, taking the device. That night, Jack carefully packed a bag with essentials. If the device failed, he wouldn't be coming back to his apartment. He would become another Arcadian puppet. His phone buzzed with a message from Captain Winters. Meeting moved up, car arriving in 30 minutes to bring you to embassy. Jack's heart raced. They were changing plans, giving him less time to prepare. He quickly texted Olivia. They're coming. Now. Her response was immediate. Use the device. Remember what we discussed. Whatever happens, don't remove it. Headlights swept across his window as a black car pulled up outside. Jack slipped the small device into his ear, feeling it warm, slightly as it activated. He took a deep breath and opened his door. 2 men in suits stood there, their faces blank. Lieutenant Miller, please come with us. Ambassador Zichtal is waiting. Gee, Captain. Before your meeting with Zichtal, you told me to keep an eye on them. After, you've defended everything they do. Her eyes narrowed. That's enough, Lieutenant. I've scheduled you for a direct meeting with Ambassador Zichtal tomorrow. He specifically requested you. Jack felt a chill run through him. He'd avoided direct contact with the ambassador so far. Something happened in those meetings. Something that changed people. That evening, his personal tablet pinged with a message from an unknown sender. Don't attend the meeting. Others have noticed too. Find me at Westlake Research Center tomorrow. Dr. Olivia Freeman. Jack stared at the message, his heart racing. He wasn't alone in his suspicions after all. Jack sat in the back of the black car, touching the small device in his ear to make sure it was secure. The 2 men in suits didn't speak during the drive. Through the windows, Jack saw the Arcadian embassy glowing in the distance, its crystal structure shining even in the dark. Inside the embassy, everything felt strange. The air smelled sweet and soft music played that made Jack's thoughts feel foggy. He touched the device in his ear again, drawing comfort from its slight warmth. Lieutenant Miller, Ambassador Zichtal said, entering the room. The Arcadian was taller than the others Jack had met, with skin that shifted between blue and purple. I have waited to meet you personally. Jack forced himself to stand still as Zichtal approached. The ambassador's eyes were deep and endless, like looking into space itself. You have helped us understand humans, Zichtal continued. Now I will help you understand us. Jack felt pressure in his head, like someone was pushing against his thoughts. The device in his ear became hot. Sweat ran down his neck, but he kept his face calm. Interesting, Zigtal said, head tilting. Your mind is different. I'm just a communications officer, Jack replied. Zigtal stepped closer. No, you are more. You have spoken with the rebels. The pressure in Jack's head increased. Images flashed in his mind. Olivia, the lab, the brain scans. Jack bit his lip, fighting to keep those thoughts hidden. You know about the Dominion, Zigtal said, no longer pretending. That is unfortunate. 2 guards entered the room. Jack knew he had to act fast. He grabbed a glass vase from a nearby table and smashed it against the wall. During the distraction, he ran past the surprised guards and out into the hallway. Alarms sounded as Jack raced through the embassy. He had memorized the building layout from Maya's files. The nearest exit was through the kitchen. As he ran, he grabbed his phone and sent a message to Olivia. Compromised. Coming to you. Jack made it outside just as guards flooded the halls. Behind him. He stole a maintenance worker's electric cart and sped away from the embassy, heading toward the meeting point Olivia had shown him for emergencies. An hour later, Jack sat in a hidden bunker with Olivia and her team. The device had protected him, but barely. You confirmed what we suspected, Olivia said, examining the device which had partly melted. The Arcadians are definitely using mind control, and they're working for the Dominion. Zigtal said I was different, Jack told them. He seemed surprised the control didn't work immediately. Alan, the neurologist, typed rapidly at his computer. The device protected you, but something else is happening. Your brain's natural resistance is stronger than we expected. What do we do now? Jack asked. They know I've discovered their secret. Sam turned on a news broadcast. Jack's face appeared on the screen with the words, wanted, armed, and dangerous beneath it. They're calling you a terrorist, Sam said, claiming you attacked the ambassador and stole sensitive alien technology. We can't fight this publicly, Maya added. The Arcadians control too many officials now. Olivia opened a locked cabinet and pulled out a hard drive. This contains everything we've discovered about the Dominion. The Arcadians are just servants. The real controllers rarely leave their ships. They've conquered entire galaxies using the same method. Send in the Arcadians, establish control over leaders, then bring in the real Dominion forces. And no species has ever resisted? Jack asked. 2 weeks after escaping the embassy, Jack and Olivia moved to their 3rd hiding place. This one was an old weather station in the mountains, abandoned years ago but still with working power. Maya had found it through an off-the-books government database. We can't keep running, Jack said, looking out the window at the valley below. We need to find more people who can resist the Arcadians. I've been working on that, Sam said, spreading a map on the table. Using hospital records and our research, I found people who might be naturally immune. He pointed to several locations marked on the map. These people all have something in common. They all suffered some kind of brain injury that healed in unusual ways. Like what? Jack asked. Car accidents, sports injuries, even one case of a lightning strike. Their brains rewired themselves differently during recovery. Olivia looked excited. That matches our theory. The Arcadians' control works on standard neural pathways. Brains that developed differently might be resistant. Their first recruit was Frank Torres, a former Marine who had survived an explosion in Afghanistan. When they found him, he was living alone in a cabin in Wyoming. I knew something was wrong with those aliens, Frank said after hearing their story. Every time they spoke on TV, I got headaches while everyone around me seemed hypnotized. Next came Diane Powell, a quantum physicist who had fallen down a flight of stairs 10 years ago. She had been developing experimental shield technology before the government shut down her project. The Arcadians visited my lab, Diane told them. Everyone on my team suddenly agreed to stop our work. I pretended to agree, but inside I knew something was controlling them. By the end of the month, they had gathered 7 people, all immune to the Arcadian influence. They set up a lab in the weather station's main room, with equipment Diane and Olivia had smuggled from their former workplaces. We need to understand exactly how our brains are different, Olivia said, preparing the portable scanner they had stolen. And we need to find a way to protect others. Jack went first, lying still as the scanner mapped his brain. Then each of the others took turns. Alan analyzed the results, his face growing more excited with each scan. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the screen. "Normal human brains follow this pattern." He showed them a standard brain scan. "But all of you have variations in this region, the one the Arcadians target for control. Can we use this to identify others who might be immune?" Jack asked. "Better than that," Diane said, studying the scans. "I think we can use this to develop a more permanent protection, not just for the naturally immune, but for everyone." That night, as the others slept, Jack sat with Frank on the weather station's roof, keeping watch. "You think we can really fight them?" Frank asked. "The entire galaxy couldn't stop the Dominion. What chance do a few humans have?" Jack looked up at the stars. "Maybe that's why we can win. We're not trying to fight the way others did. We're doing something new." The next morning, Olivia woke everyone with exciting news. "I've been analyzing the data. It's not just people with brain injuries who are immune. About 3% of all humans naturally have the neural structure that resists control. That's over 200 million people," Maya calculated. "If we can find a way to identify them and bring them together," Jack said, "we could build a real resistance." As they discussed plans, the radio crackled with an emergency broadcast. The president announced that a second Arcadian ship had entered Earth's orbit. "Our friends have brought more representatives to help us prepare for full membership in the Galactic Concord," he said, his voice flat and emotionless. "They're bringing in more controllers," Sam translated grimly. Jack stood up, determination on his face. "Then we need to work faster. The real invasion has begun." "Not according to the files we accessed," Maya said. "But we found something interesting. The Dominion has records stretching back thousands of years, documenting every species they've conquered. They all have similar neural structures except humans. Our brains evolve differently," Alan explained. "Most humans are still vulnerable, but some of us, those with certain neural patterns, can resist. And that's why they want me," Jack realized. "To understand how I resisted." "Exactly," Olivia said. "And why we need to protect you. You're proof that humans can fight back." Over the next week, the resistance group worked day and night. Their mountain hideout became a mix of laboratory and operations center. Diane and Olivia focused on studying the brain patterns of the immune humans, while Maya monitored communications between Arcadian ships. "I think I've found something," Diane said one morning, calling everyone to her workstation. On her screen was a complex pattern of brain waves. "Look at the theta waves in Olivia's brain compared to Jack's." The group gathered around. Alan pointed to the differences. "Olivia's natural immunity comes from this unusual pattern here. Jack doesn't have it naturally, but the protection device created a similar effect. Can we copy it?" Jack asked. "Make more devices?" Diane nodded. "We can create a signal that mimics this pattern. It won't grant permanent immunity, but it should block the Arcadians' influence while it's active." Using parts from old radios and medical equipment, they built improved versions of the ear device that had saved Jack at the embassy. Each one could generate the protective frequency for about 8 hours before needing to recharge. "It's not perfect," Olivia admitted as they tested the first prototype. "But it's a start." Jack put on one of the devices. Unlike the original, which had been uncomfortably hot, this one merely felt warm. "How will we get these to other people?" "We need to find the natural immunes first," Sam said. "They'll be our core group." Maya had been developing a program to identify potential immunes by searching through medical records for specific markers. "I found about 50 people within driving distance who might have natural immunity," she reported. They split into teams to make contact. Jack and Frank drove to a small town to meet a nurse named Karen Lewis, who had survived a rare brain infection as a child. When they arrived at the hospital where she worked, they found it surrounded by police. "They're looking for immunes too," Frank muttered as they watched from their car. "How did they know?" Jack wondered. They must have figured out the pattern, just like we did. They waited until Karen's shift ended and approached her in the parking lot. To their relief, she immediately understood their concerns about the Arcadians. "I've been trying to tell people something's wrong with them," she said. "No one listens, they think I'm crazy." Karen joined them, bringing valuable medical supplies and her knowledge of hospital systems. Others came too: a college professor, a truck driver, a retired engineer, all sharing the rare brain structure that made them immune. With each new person, they learned more. The college professor, Dr. Greg Evans, had been studying unusual brain activity for years. "Human brains aren't like other species in the galaxy," he explained. "Most evolved with similar neural patterns, but humans develop differently, possibly because of our planet's unique magnetic field." As their numbers grew, so did the challenges. The Arcadians had clearly noticed people resistant to their control and were actively hunting them. News reports labeled them as mentally unstable and dangerous to public safety. During a supply run, Jack narrowly avoided capture when police suddenly surrounded the store he was in. He escaped through a back door, but it was clear staying in one place had become too dangerous. "We need to move," he told the others upon returning. "They're getting better at finding us." That night, as they packed to relocate, Olivia made the resistance move to an abandoned mining facility deep in the mountains. With 23 immune humans and 17 others protected by the devices, they began planning the mission to infiltrate the Arcadian Research Center. "We need to know exactly what we're up against," Jack said during their strategy meeting. "Maya, what have you learned from the communications you intercepted?" Maya pulled up images on her tablet. "The second ship that arrived? It didn't just bring more Arcadians, it brought actual Dominion controllers." She showed them grainy security camera footage she had hacked from a government server. The images showed strange, shadowy figures moving among humans at a high level. Meeting. Unlike the tall, elegant Arcadians, these beings were smaller and darker, almost blending into the shadows around them. "These are the true masters," Maya explained. "Each one can control thousands of minds simultaneously. The Arcadians are just their servants." "How do they control so many at once?" Jack asked. Diane, who had been analyzing the footage closely, pointed to faint lines of energy connecting the Dominion beings to nearby humans. "They create a network. Look at how the influence spreads from person to person." Over the next few days, they observed more. Frank and Karen snuck into a town controlled by the Dominion and returned with troubling news. "It's not just world leaders anymore," Frank reported. "Regular people are being controlled too. The whole town moved like robots, all doing exactly what they were told." "But we noticed something important," Karen added. "The control isn't perfect. When a Dominion controller left an area, people seemed to wake up slightly, becoming more normal until another controller came near." This gave Jack an idea. What if the connection works both ways? If they have to maintain contact to control minds, there must be some kind of link between them and the humans they control. Diane's eyes widened. "A two-way neural connection." "Exactly," Jack said. "What would happen if we could send a signal back through that connection?" The opportunity to test this theory came sooner than expected. 2 days later, while scouting the perimeter of the Arcadian research facility, Diane and Greg spotted something unusual: a lone Dominion controller traveling in a small transport vehicle. "It's heading away from the main facility," Greg reported, over their secure radio. "Minimal security, just 2 human guards." Jack made a quick decision. "This might be our only chance to capture one. Sam, Frank, get the containment unit ready. Olivia, bring the neural equipment." They intercepted the transport on a remote mountain road. With their protection devices active, Jack and Frank quickly overpowered the confused human guards who couldn't understand why their mental commands weren't working. The Dominion being tried to flee but was trapped in the specially designed containment unit Diane had built. Back at their base, they kept the creature isolated behind glass walls, lined with the same frequency generators as their ear devices. The being was small, with dark skin that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes were large and entirely black, showing no emotion as it watched them. Diane set up equipment to study the creature. "It's still trying to control us," she noted, pointing to readings on her monitor. sending out control signals constantly. Can we reverse it? Jack asked. Send a signal back through the same connection? Theoretically, yes, Olivia said. But we don't know what would happen. They modified one of their protection devices, reversing its frequency to send human thought patterns back through the Dominion's own control network. Diane volunteered to wear it first. Be careful, Jack warned as she approached the containment unit. Diane activated the reversed device and looked directly at the Dominion controller. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the creature began to shake, its body trembling violently as its eyes widened in what looked like fear. It made a high-pitched sound none of them had heard before. What's happening to it? Jack asked. I think, Olivia said slowly, staring at the readings. It's experiencing human emotions, maybe for the first time ever. The creature collapsed, curling into a ball, still making that terrible sound. Turn it off, Jack ordered, and Diane deactivated the device. The Dominion being lay still, twitching occasionally. Its mental broadcasts had stopped completely. We've found their weakness, Jack said quietly. They can't handle the complexity of human minds, a breakthrough with the protection devices. I found a way to make them last longer and work better, she said, showing Jack the new design. But there's a problem. We need specialized equipment to make more than a few. Where would we find that? Jack asked. Olivia pulled up a map on her tablet. There's only one place I know that has what we need. She pointed to a location on the screen, the main Arcadian research facility, built where NASA's headquarters once stood. That's impossible, Sam said, looking over their shoulders. The place is guarded by both human and Arcadian security. Jack studied the map, remembering his military training. Nothing's impossible. We just need the right plan. The discovery of the Dominion's weakness changed everything. For 3 days, the Resistance worked without rest to develop a weapon based on their findings. Diane and Olivia created a device that could amplify human brain patterns and broadcast them directly into the Dominion control network. It works like their own system, but in reverse, Olivia explained to the group. Instead of them pushing their thoughts into human minds, we push human thoughts into theirs. And they can't handle it, Diane added. Human emotions are too complex, too contradictory for their minds to process. Jack looked at the prototype device on the table. It was larger than their ear devices, about the size of an old radio. How many can we build? With the parts we have. Maybe 5, Olivia answered. That's why we still need to get into the Arcadian research facility. With their equipment, we could make hundreds. The plan they developed was risky, but simple. Using the captured Dominion controller as a test subject, they confirmed that their device could disrupt the mental control within a range of about half a mile. They would split into 3 teams. Jack would lead the first team to create a distraction near the main entrance. Sam would lead a second team to disable the security systems. Olivia would lead the third team to locate and secure the equipment they needed. On the night of the mission, they positioned themselves around the Arcadian facility. The full moon cast sharp shadows across the open grounds. Guards patrolled in, regular patterns, their movements mechanical and precise. Ready? Jack asked over their secure radio channel. Team 2 ready, Sam confirmed. Team 3 in position, Olivia added. Jack activated the first of their new devices. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The guards nearest to him suddenly stopped walking, their coordinated movements becoming confused. Some grabbed their heads in pain. Others looked around as if waking from a dream. It's working, Jack whispered. Move in. As planned, his team created more chaos by setting off small explosions near the facility's power generators. Alarms blared as emergency systems activated. In the confusion, Sam's team slipped into the security center through a maintenance entrance. Security. Systems disabled, Sam reported 5 minutes later. You're clear, Team 3. Olivia led her team to the research wing. Most of the human staff were disoriented by the mental disruption, making it easy to move through the building. They found the manufacturing lab where the Arcadians produced their advanced technology. This is it, Olivia said. Start packing the equipment. But as they worked, something unexpected happened. A high-pitched noise filled the building, painful even to the immune humans. Through the windows, they saw Arcadian ships rising into the air. "They're retreating," Frank called over the radio from his observation post outside. Throughout the facility, the controlled humans were collapsing as their mental connections to the Dominion were suddenly cut. The disruption caused by the Resistance's devices had spread further than expected, creating a chain reaction through the Dominion's mental network. Jack ran to the window and watched as more ships lifted off. "They're all leaving." "Why?" Maya's voice came through on the radio, excited and breathless. "I've hacked into their communication network. The Dominion commanders are ordering a full withdrawal from Earth. Our devices didn't just affect the controllers here. The mental feedback. Travel 3 weeks after the Arcadians retreated. The world was still in chaos. People who had been under mind control woke confused and frightened. Leaders struggled to explain what had happened. The Resistance, no longer needing to hide, set up their base in an abandoned military facility offered by a grateful government. "The Yao president wants to meet with us," Sam said, entering the main lab where Jack and Olivia were working on a new device. "He's finally free of the Dominion's influence." Jack nodded. Unlike many who had been controlled, he didn't blame the victims. The control had been too powerful to resist without help. The meeting took place in a secure underground bunker. The president, looking tired but clear-eyed, greeted them personally. "You saved us all," he said simply. "Now we need your help to prepare for what comes next." With government support, the Resistance expanded their operation. Using equipment taken from the Arcadian facility, they studied the alien technology. Most interesting was a communication device that could send messages across vast distances instantly. "I think I can make it work," Maya said after days of studying it. "We could use it to reach other worlds." "Other worlds that might still be under Dominion control," Jack pointed out. Olivia had been studying the captured Dominion being, which remained in a catatonic state after its exposure to human thought patterns. "Look at this," she said one morning, showing Jack her findings. "Its brain structure is similar to all the other species the Dominion conquered. They all share certain neural pathways that make them vulnerable to control." "But humans developed differently," Jack said. "Exactly. We're the first species they've encountered that can resist, and more importantly, we can teach others to resist too." Maya called them to her workstation with excitement in her voice. "I got the communication device working, and there's something you need to hear." She played a transmission she had intercepted. The message was in an alien language, but the translation program they had developed from Arcadian technology displayed the words on screen. "Resistance cell on Proxima 3 requests. Assistance. Control weakening after Earth broadcast. Please respond." "Earth broadcast?" Jack asked. "What does that mean?" "I think when our device affected their network, it sent out a kind of pulse," Olivia explained. "Other worlds might have felt it too." Over the next days, more messages came in from planets across the galaxy. Species that had been under Dominion control for centuries were beginning to wake up. The mental shock caused by humanity's resistance had weakened the Dominion's hold everywhere. Jack proposed a bold plan to the president and world leaders. "We need to share what we've learned, not just protect Earth, but help free other worlds, too." Within months, humanity launched its first ships into deep space. Built using a combination of human and captured alien technology, these vessels carried volunteers trained to teach other species how to resist mind control. Jack led the mission to Proxima 3, where they found a civilization just beginning to break free from centuries of Dominion rule. "Your signal showed us it was possible to resist," the alien leader told Jack through a translator. "For generations, we thought our minds were our own, never realizing we were slaves." As more worlds joined what became known as the Alliance of Free Worlds, the Dominion's power diminished. They attempted to return to Earth with physical weapons as Jack had predicted, but humanity was ready. The defense systems developed from Arcadian technology easily repelled their attacks. 5 years after first contact, Jack stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space station, watching ships from a dozen different worlds dock for the first Galactic Congress of Free Species. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Olivia asked, joining him at the window. Jack shook his head. "Not when I was just trying to decode their first message." The Dominion thought they found another world to conquer, Olivia said. Instead, they found the one species that would end their empire. Jack smiled as he watched representatives from worlds that had been enslaved for generations walk free into the station. And now we're teaching the galaxy how to be human. How? To think for themselves. Ed through their entire network, affecting controllers on the ships too. We did it, Olivia said in disbelief. We drove them away. But Jack wasn't celebrating yet. Stay alert. This might be a trap. As the resistance groups regathered at their transport vehicles, bringing the stolen equipment, Jack looked up at the retreating ships. The Arcadians and their Dominion masters were leaving, but something told him this wasn't the end. They'll be back, he said to Olivia as they loaded the last of the equipment. Next time they won't try mind control. They'll use something else. Weapons. Biological. Agents, anything that doesn't require mental connection. Olivia nodded grimly. Then we better be ready.